Today's topic is centered around the idea of flourishing. As we consider our goals and dreams, the ambitions that we've set for ourselves through our businesses or personal endeavors, we also have the bucket list we hope to get to one day. What is the impetus for you to consider you are flourishing on your journey? And what does it take for this mindset to guide your days and inspire your creations and relationships? According to Oxford Dictionary, the idea of flourish is the opportunity to, and this is in the quotes, grow or develop in a healthy or vigorous way, especially as the result of particularly favorable environment. Further, it also includes a person waving something around to attract the attention of others. These two ideas can bring different meanings to how we live our lives and the activities and opportunities we bring to us, but also that we can share with others. My guest today, Glenda Lane, was a physiotherapist for over 3 decades, and in the last decade has combined her intuitive gifts as a soul guide to creating a special program merging science and spirituality to help people engage with their innate body wisdom and assist with decision-making with their true nature. For those of you familiar with light language and may have listened to the previous podcast with Dr. Lori Hobbs about her experiences with light language, Glenda brings us an additional set of experiences and gifts with her many years using light language in her work. You're listening to Be Well with Michelle Greenwell, and this is Season 2, Episode 9, Flourishing is a Mindset with Glenda Lane. Welcome, Glenda.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
When I was thinking about how I wanted to start today, and I was thinking about the light language, I started to consider how many people cut a deck of cards and pull out an affirmation for the day or to create their mindset. So what I did was I went to my affirmations for the body and biofield deck, and I thought I'll pull 3 cards. And sometimes people do that body, mind, spirit, sometimes past, present, future. I just cut 3 cards with no intention, just to see what would happen and what would come from it. So I laughed when this one came up. So for those people who are listening in and can't see, there's 2 yellow lines that kind of wave almost like a butterfly wing. And there's a center kind of rod that goes down the center, and the rest is gray, black, and white. And this is from Meeting the Divine. Balance with this chakra transcends personal experience and expectations to assist all others. Compassion and action is necessary for personal growth. And it's the 9th chakra, which is known as the soul star. So I thought that was kind of fun knowing where our topics are going to go today.
Yep. Not surprising, right?
Exactly. And then the second one came from the fascia spine flow. So for those people who are tuning in again on the podcast, this one has green, yellow, and white cream, and it's how the fascia comes off the spine, off each vertebra, and so it kind of looks like that. Logic balances artistic tendencies, while responsibility and exploration support free flow. Challenges are met with robust overview for the greatest success. And it refers to the note of E, lower thoracic spine. So that's the lower part of the back, often the arch of the back, and includes the solar plexus chakra. And I know you'll have lots to comment on that, I'm sure. Okay. And then the last one, this was really interesting. This one is a compilation card. So it's all the spiritual points of the spine. So it includes the entire neck, as well as the thoracic spine down into the lumbar. And this one is, I am who I need to be with all that I need to be. I'm worthy of the success I envision. It includes chakra, heart line, which includes our soul star, which we pulled first, and the biofield. And this one, for those people who are listening in, there are tiny little circles on this one to indicate each point of the spine, and each one has its own photograph that's in it. And the photographs are of nature that have been run through filters, so they're really artistically done rather than so much as a photograph. But anyway, so that gets us started with some aspects of information that we can go with. And do you want to tell me what you brought in your mug of vitality for today?
Yes. So in my mug, I have it's a tea blended by a friend of mine named Luana Haney, and it's called Rejuvenate, and it's for the specifically for the root chakra. So it's this beautiful red color. And the mug that it's in is very special to me. My husband and I were on Hornby Island. Oh my gosh, I guess it's what is it? More than 13 years ago now, visiting friends who had moved there. And I was 8 months pregnant with my first daughter. So I was pretty big at the time. But this mug was made by a friend of theirs. And what's really special about it, and you can't really see on the inside, but the way it's molded, when you look down at it, it's the shape of a heart.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I literally have a red heart tea that I'm drinking at the moment. So
Oh, that is very cool. And the outside has the way the glaze is done on it.
yeah, it's beautiful. And then inside, again, I'm going to spill my tea if I try to show you, but it's got actually colors of red woven in on the inside as
Wow.
well. So yeah,
Wow. Beautiful. And I chose Island Passion. So I wanted to bring in
nice.
all of what would come in from the garden here in Cape Breton. And then I've got the Island Passion comes from our tea company, Cape Breton Tea Company. And it's one of the top blends that's people just resonate with. I think it's just the lavender and the lemon balm and chamomile and all just rolls together. And I put it into my Prince Edward Island mug, the
Mm,
other island at this end of the country. And this one has all of the dirt from PEI is put into the paint. And so I always feel like I'm holding a mug of the earth when I'm drinking from it. And
that's so cool.
yeah, and I saw the PEI dirt when I think I was 10 or 11. We came on a tour just to
Yep.
learn more about Eastern Canada. And I fell in love with the red dirt and
Yeah.
I forgot about it too until we moved here. And it was a little while after we moved here, I realized I had purchased land with red dirt. And it was like,
Yeah.
wow, I actually did come back, which I had stated when I was 10. I was like, that's it. This is the red dirt.
Well, we did two family. I'm from Ontario originally, and we did two family holidays to the Maritimes, and Prince Edward Island was our main spot that we stayed at, and just yeah, loved it. And I have an extremely dear friend who originates from PEI, and yeah, so it's a special place for me as well. So that's really neat.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, cheers, and let's
Cheers.
we'll get started into our conversation.
Hmm.
Oh, so beautiful. Okay, so let's talk about how you melded your two passions for healing into the flourishing package that you have, and what has been your experience as a result of doing that as you work with clients.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So yeah, as you said, I've been in the physical therapy world for over 30 years now. And so I've had the privilege of working with many amazing clients over the years. And physical therapy tends to focus on the physical body. I mean, most people are coming in with a physical issue. And in all those years that I have been working with people, what I came to understand, and this, I started taking some energy courses at one point. I think my first introduction to energy was I had training in traditional Chinese medical acupuncture. And that was kind of my first, I guess, the door opening to the world of energy, because it was so different from Western medicine trainings that I'd had up until that point. And so um, from there, I took several different energy schools. And what I came to see over time was that it's not just a physical issue in the body. Someone's coming in with a physical symptom, dysfunction, and obviously wanting assistance with that. But I came to see that it goes much deeper than that. There's a lot more going on with someone, and that the body really is the messenger of our soul. You know, our soul speaks to us through the body. And one of the ways that it does that is through symptoms such as pain, such as tension, dysfunction, and disease, and also through our emotions. So that's kind of where I've come to now, and help my clients in, I guess, whole being wellness, really looking at the mind, body, spirit, and really seeing that the body is just giving us feedback, constant feedback about whether we're in alignment with what's true for us or not. And once we learn that language of the body and can really become in tune with, even listen to our bodies. I mean, for years, I never did. I was, up in my head, like a head walking around on a stick, really wasn't in tune, even though ironically, I was in the field of physical therapy and had been a dancer as well for years. And over time, as I came up more into my head and through schooling and what have you, I also developed some chronic pain and some chronic issues in my body. And I didn't really want to feel them, didn't really want to be with them. And so, boop, I was going to bop up into my head. And really, over time, not that we're ever really disconnected from our bodies, but I certainly wasn't paying attention, to what my body was telling me. And so, now I really see my role in whatever I'm doing, whether it's physical therapy or in my soul guidance sessions, is to really help people tap into their body wisdom, really connect with their bodies and receive the wisdom from their soul, their own knowing that trumps anyone's knowing. It's like you have your own knowing, you have your own barometer, and it's just learning how to do that. And so I really assist people coming out of their heads into their hearts, really coming into connection with their body so that they can receive. I mean, that's where our intuition is too, right? And so really receive the messages from our soul, from our guidance system, really to assist us in making those decisions that are aligned for us, and that are right for each one of us. So I think that's where the two have melded. And I think as well, last year we moved out of the age of Capricorn into the age of Aquarius, and it's really moving from that. The age of Capricorn was very much like the information age, right? Technology, look how it just boomed over the last 20 years, right? I mean, I remember not having a computer,
Or a cell phone.
not having a cell phone, exactly. And so, things really took off there. And this age of Aquarius is more the age of vibration. And I call it the age of energy and the age of feeling versus thinking. And not like we're ever not going to use our minds. They're glorious, attributes that we have that we can use. But now let's do both. Let's really tap into this vessel, this body vessel that has so much wisdom available for us, and let our hearts and our soul inform our actions instead of just trying to figure things out with our minds all the time. So that's I guess the melding of of the two. And the energy work, so much in science has caught up, right, in terms of proving what we've thought to be true. Science has really come a long way in being able to back that up. It's not just woo, it's not just a thought. It's like, no, it's actually being proven, which really excites me because I am a bit of a science geek as well. And so really being able to see that come online has been super exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things for the last 8 or 9 years working through the master's and dissertation program myself was to have that languaging, and then to realize NASA's using it all the time.
Yeah.
Horticulture is using it all the time. There's all these places where the knowledge is being used, yet somehow when it comes back to the body and how the body functions and how the body's well or not well, somehow then it becomes a woo-woo topic, and we don't really want to identify those emotions, or we don't want to be responsible for the fact that we might have pushed them somewhere and then said, hey, I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Or that pain in my foot, I'm going to ignore it until it becomes the pain in my knee, my hip, my shoulder, and then, oh, now I'll pay attention. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, really interesting, that whole the dynamics and the way things have been set up.
When we even just have to look at the word disease, right? Dis-ease, right? It's like we're not at ease in our bodies. And it's not just that cells have mutated or that, have gone awry or, that are causing this disease. It's that we are not at ease in our own skin. We are not at peace within ourselves around something, some topic, some way. And so it really is, it's like I don't say a calling card, but it's like pay attention over here. There's something here that wants your attention, that wants healing. And yes, it's the physical. We can't separate out the two, but there's more. There's more here to look at, and that wants to be known. So, yeah.
Mm. So now, as you're talking about, we've got the physical aspects, which you've brought through, like you said, from dance and physiotherapy. So as you move into that awareness of knowledge of how the body's functioning and how we can make changes, what do you notice from your clients just in the way they start to think about their lives and think about the way they're responding to their everyday situations?
Well, I think one of the key things is for them to have an experience so that they can truly believe. It's one thing to hear it from someone, but to me, true knowing is experiencing. And so, some of my soul guidance clients that I work with, we literally will be, I'll take them through, let's say, an emotional alchemy process, and what they present with is pain in their head or pain in their hip or pain, there's something. And when we go into that and they come through the other side, it's gone. And they haven't done anything other than what we've done energetically. It's not like they've gone and moved their bodies. It's not like they've gone and stretched or strengthened or, whatever, or used an external modality. They really then have this experience of, oh my goodness, like how is my pain just gone? Well, it doesn't need to be there anymore because you've received the guidance that you were meant to receive in that moment. So first and foremost, I think having an experience of that is really what assists people in getting it. I think trying to just explain it is really difficult for someone to grasp, especially if they're very just used to Western medicine and how we've been taught about how things work. And so then now in their lives, they're able to recognize when something does show up in their body. It doesn't have to be pain. It could just be tension. It could be, sometimes it's even nausea. Sometimes it's even fatigue. Fatigue is a great one of your body's way. Certainly for me, fatigue will show up to say, what I've learned about myself is that I am carrying the responsibility for others. That's when fatigue shows up for me. It's like, Glenda, you are using your energy to either try and save someone or to carry the responsibility for them. And so then I recognize, oh, wow, okay, yes, I'm doing that. And then right away, like the fatigue is gone. So it's really being able to now look at their bodies differently. See, I say your body's your best friend, right? And for years, I didn't believe that because I was in pain. And, how is this my best friend? I felt like my body was letting me down, actually. Never
Exactly.
mind
Yep.
my best friend. It's like, what? And so when you start to partner with your body in this way and be grateful for what is showing up, because it's just trying to, let you know that, hey, this path that you're on right now, actually over here is more aligned. It's like trying to get your attention, or what you're believing in this moment is not the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that emotion that you suppressed, in childhood, especially, it wants to move. Emotions aren't meant to stay stuck in the body. They're meant to be in motion. And so it's time. It's time for that to leave the tissues of your body and move. And so that's why it's coming up. So we start to, what I start to see is they go from a place of this is happening to me to a place of this is happening for me, and getting curious and being willing to actually feel what they're feeling. That's really important. Is the first step, is really not just having something come up and right away go, oh, what's this about? Because that's all mind level still. It's letting yourself experience what's showing up in your body, really feeling it. And then once that has diminished, the sensation has diminished, and like I say, the charge has gone from that emotion or that sensation, then you can get curious, right? So it's too many times people will bypass that feeling
Mm-hmm.
stage, and so then we're just not partnering with the body. We're just up in our heads again, trying to figure out what's going on, and also not from a place of, I think a lot of people that come to see me at the beginning are in a place of, there's something wrong, I need fixing. I got to find that thing that needs fixing. And that's actually not true. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You're whole and complete, and you got some stuff going on. And so when we can get curious from this place of, ooh, what wants to be known, what is here for me, versus I got to find the thing to fix me. It's again very moving from that kind of victim, this is happening to me, to being more in your own power of, okay, this is for me, how, and let me lean in instead
Mm-hmm.
of pull away.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And it's such interesting voyage too, when, like you had commented just a little bit before, about how instantly it can change. And I think about times when I've gotten in the car and my head is having that discussion of judgment, right? How
Yeah.
dare that person do whatever it is that they did, and I'm really upset about it and whatever. And then I stop and go, actually, is this my anger?
Yeah.
And then I find out it's not even mine. And I'm just out of balance, and I just need to find my way back to balance. And then I've forgotten what I was even thinking about. And it's
Yeah.
such an interesting thing because it's an all consuming thing, and it could take your whole day up.
Yeah.
Or you just figure it out, and then poof, it's just gone. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And I
really
think
an
that's why
amazing
people
journey.
won't allow themselves to feel, is that fear that,
Mm-hmm.
we make up great stories about emotions, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, mostly because we're judging them. So, we can judge anger as being bad, and then we can judge ourselves for feeling that anger. And then we can make up a story about it where it's like, oh, if I actually let myself feel this anger, then I'm going to become an angry person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm going to stay like, what if I don't come out of this? What if I stay stuck in it? And so these are all the narratives that go on that prevent us from actually feeling our emotions. And then the other things, we haven't been taught. We just haven't been taught how do we do this? How do we actually feel our emotions without staying stuck in it, without getting being taken out by them, because that's been our experience in the past,
Mm-hmm.
right? So who wants to repeat that? And so it's I think that's kind of one of the things that I look at my role is to teach people, so that you can stay in your center, you can stay in your beingness, and understand that you are not your emotions, and that nothing is stronger than the being that you are. And so it can't take you out if you don't allow it to. And so yeah, just really teaching people how to do that is really powerful. And then, there's that ripple effect into
Mm-hmm.
families, right? Because if you're not reactive,
Mm-hmm.
then that absolutely will impact your children, your partners, your well, even if at work, if you have coworkers, right? So it's it's loving to yourself to do it, and it's loving to the people in your life, because instead of getting a reactive version of you, they get someone who is actually able to be with their emotions, feel them through, and then respond in a way that you really want to, not based on the discomfort of that emotion that you're feeling in the moment. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So with the light language work that you do,
Yeah.
how does that now come in?
Good question. So the light language started coming through 4 or 5 years ago, I think, for me. And it was a surprise. I was in a healing circle, and it came through very powerfully. It was one of those things where, I mean, I was in control, but not in control. I recognized that, first of all, this was not me doing, instigating this. But also I just knew that for what was happening in the room, it was what was meant to come through for whatever reason. And at the time, the shaman that was running, that was holding the circle, at the very end, because it came through several times, and it came through in very different ways and felt very different inside of me. The first one had a quality of fierce love, saying no to lower frequency energies that were present. The second time, it came through in like a celebratory manner, in celebrating someone in the room. And the third time it came through, I had a woman that was next to me, and it just brought her to tears. She goes, "I just feel like I've come home." So it has, I think it comes through for different reasons and for different times. And when I went to the shaman at the end, I said, "Look, I don't want to get in my head about this. I don't want to analyze it. I don't want to, but like, what is going on?" and he said, "Well, from what I can tell, you're channeling a Celtic spirit." So I was speaking Celtic at one point. And then the other two, he said, are not from planet Earth, and that's what light language is. It doesn't originate here on planet Earth. And so I and then just have developed this relationship with it. And what I've come to know is that light language, they're just codes of light, and codes of light is how we actually communicate with each other and with source. And so and we do that in many different ways. Intuition, right? Information that we're receiving, those are codes of light. And for me, this particular light language feels very much, has the frequency of unconditional love. And so when I'm speaking it, what I feel in me is like a love bomb has exploded. It's this most incredible feeling that fills me. And again, there's so many different definitions of what light language is. And what I interpret it as for myself is that it's meant to bypass the mind. So it's not, it's a felt experience in the body. It's meant to go to the level of your cells. It's meant to activate those codes of light and love within you. And so, whenever I'm speaking it, prior to that, I'll say to everyone, I said, just close your eyes and feel it. Don't worry, don't think about it. Don't, don't try to analyze it whatsoever. Just have a felt experience and notice what you experience in your body, because it's going to be different for every single person. And I used to hold, prior to COVID, I held in-person activation circles. And so when I would speak it, and then afterwards we would kind of go around the circle and just say, well, would you like to share your experience of that? And with the same activation, one woman said, she goes, again, I felt like I came home. And she said, I don't know how else to describe that. Those are just the words. Another woman said she felt extremely powerful, like just felt this strength inside of her. And then another one said, I have received clarity on something that I've wanted to know about for a really long time, and it just dropped in. And then another woman a friend of mine who's an actual medium, she said, it was like you were speaking directly to me and I knew exactly what you were saying. And so same activation, but everyone in the room had a different experience. So I really believe that it gives you what you require and desire in that moment. And so that's what it's been for me. And I use that with my clients. So if we are and usually it comes through when I'm taking them through a process, or and so if we're clearing, if something's being activated, if clarity wants to drop in, it's like whatever is going on energetically, the light language gives it that extra boost. It's like an amplifier of what is already happening, and it just gives it that little extra oomph. So that's how I use it with my clients. And again, a felt experience, right? Language of the body, energy. And so it's really, really been a neat journey of mine. And then also not different hand movements are now, when I speak, it's this kind of thing happening. It's very strange. And my body will move in different ways. And sometimes it turns into almost like a chanting, right? So it's so different every single time, and which is kind of fun because I never know what's going to come through. And I never know when it's going to come through. It's not something that I go, okay, now we're going to speak like light language. It's not a forced thing. It's very much, I'll just know in that moment, I'll just feel like, yeah, okay, something wants to come through. I ask the client for permission, and then they say yes, and then it comes through. Yeah.
It's interesting because I think about, when we have those perfect days where we're so euphoric from something that's happened.
Yeah.
We just kind of float. And those days are the days when you go, I wish I could always capture this kind of day, right?
Yeah.
Instead of getting stuck in the mundane. And so I just know with the time I spend trying to be in balance and flow, how those euphoric kind of moments sift in and out of the day, and they come more frequently. And so as you're describing all that, I was thinking of the people who might have had glimpses of those moments, and then they disappear and they think, well, they're just not there for me. But then you start to think, well, what's all the baggage that maybe is in front of that? What are the things you're not listening to, or you haven't been moving? You've been sitting in front of your computer. You've been really locked in, or you've been locked in your house, and you just haven't been really out there experiencing life. And how close to having the experience of that euphoric opportunity to feel that overall sense of love, how close it could be to you, but you just didn't quite put the listening on in the right direction.
I'm not even aware that. So what you're referring to, for me, I call that flourishing. So those moments of euphoria, of love, where everything is, you're in flow. I mean, in fact, you're not in flow, you are flow. You're just, you have those, and I know we've all had them. And they could just be glimpses. But one of the things that I assist my clients with is moving out of what I call survival mode into flourishing. And survival mode, I'll just give definitions of what I'm describing them as. Because if we don't even, I didn't even have an awareness that, I could be in survival mode or in flourishing. Like what is that? And so survival is anytime we are living out of alignment. So if all the shoulds, have tos, and musts, right? If those are coming on board, we're acting according to that. If we are engaging in our conditioning. So in other words, our protective patterns that we take on as children, we took them on to try and stay safe, So as an example, people pleasing is one of them. Perfectionism is another. Doing everything yourself, right? I've got, that fierce independence, sometimes the lone wolf syndrome. So these are all just examples of protective patterns that we took on as children because we believed we had to in order to stay safe and loved as a result of an experience that we had. And we took that experience to make it mean something about us. Like, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I got to prove myself, like whatever the belief is. And so survival is a place when our ego is about keeping us safe, right? This is where these protective patterns come from, is really when the ego is running the show, right? It has the reins. And so we're living according to what we think we should be instead of what is true for us. And a lot of times we feel disconnected from what that is, right? Because they're just well-ingrained habits, these patterns. The thing about survival land is it actually isn't where our true safety lies. Our true safety lies when we are in alignment with what's true for us, that we create that safety within ourselves. And so survival is very much, may feel to some people like they're constantly putting out fires everywhere, right? It's like from one problem to the next. It's where struggle and suffering live. Usually it's when we're really up in our heads, right? Trying to figure things out. And so flourishing and fear is the main energy that runs survival and also the paradigm of lack. So that is kind of in a nutshell I'm referring to as survival. Now, there are times when, yes, we are truly in survival, right? So if we're trying to just put a roof over our head or find food to eat, right? There are people that are in real survival mode. So that's not what I'm talking about when I talk about this paradigm, because the majority of us tend to live in survival, with fear being what runs us, so to speak. Flourishing is where love is actually the energy that inspires us. And it's where flow lives. It's where more ease lives. It's being in touch with our heart's desires and choosing from a place of love. But it's also the unknown, right? And so I'm not saying that flourishing, you feel awesome all the time, because the unknown can feel pretty uncomfortable, right? It doesn't feel safe to our ego. Our minds like to know what's going on, what's coming down the pipe, so we can be prepared, right? And so, but that's not what flourishing is. Flourishing is leaning into the unknown, and it's really involving trusting your own knowing and trusting life, trusting what life is bringing you. And so that's kind of my definition of survival and flourishing. And so what I assist people in doing is really reconnecting with the truth of who they are, really reclaiming their energy, and a lot of times replenishing their energy, because with all these shoulds, have tos, and musts, it's a way that we leak our power and our energy, unknowingly. Of course, we're not doing that on purpose. And then being able to, from the essence of who you are, radiate that out. And the first card that you showed me, I was like, oh, that's just like, the butterfly wings. It was almost like this radiation that I was feeling. Yeah, it was like radiating from your core, right? Yep. That central core that's running up, yep, the middle of that card. And so it is this, like, really being in tune, and then being able to, when I say radiate that out, it means you're embodying the truth of who you are. You're living in alignment with who you really are, what matters to you, what's important to you, and being the gift that you are, the unique gift that you are, that nobody else is in this world, unapologetically. And so what happens over time, as we first of all, become aware of what our patterns are that are keeping us in survival mode, then learning how to disentangle from them. And I teach what I call the tools of flourishing to assist people in being able to move out of that. And then it's living that way, it's embodying it. And you start to have more and more of those euphoric experiences, like you said, right? You start to be in that state more often. And so instead of being in survival all the time, we start having more and more of these flourishing experiences. And gradually over time, flourishing will become your default way of being instead of surviving. And it just feels way better. And it's more joyful, and it's more alive. You just feel, and it's creativity is a huge part of flourishing, 100%. I believe we're here to create, we are creative beings. We're here to create upon creation. And so often when if I notice I'm in survival mode, I'm not creating, I'm consuming, or I'm complaining, or you know what I mean? So it's like creating is a tool of flourishing, of that can really be like, ooh, what do I get to create right now? So anyway, that was a very long-winded explanation, but it just I just wanted to share that because flourishing is possible, and I didn't even know that it was a thing. I didn't know that it was a thing for a really long time. But then once you know, and you know how to, then we can choose differently.
Exactly. And it's one of those things too, you catch it for a little while and then you find a way away from it, which
Yes.
reminds you that it's present and you're not there. And then it's that journey to bring you back again, and how you
Yeah.
get lost in some bits and pieces. And
Yeah, I
but
mean
then
that's
it's
that's the human journey, right? And
exactly.
I actually call it the journey of remembrance, because it is choosing to remember over and over and over and over and over again. Because
Mhm.
yes, we will forget. It's just going unconscious, right? It's just not being aware. But
Mhm.
then what I find happens is you become aware more often, and it's like you go into survival, but you don't stay there as long, and you don't go into survival as often. So this is
Mhm.
kind of the journey, and each time it's a coming back and remembering
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
we are.
And isn't it lovely to talk about that piece? Because for some people, particularly since we're looking at a new year, resolutions are happening.
Yep.
People, think that willpower is the way that they're going to get there, and then discover they don't have the strength for that. And when you look at that idea of it's a wave and it just flows in and out, and the
Yeah.
same with sound, sound is just flowing and moving us. And when we are, for me, when I'm moving in my body, I have the times when I sit and spend a lot of time, or over the holidays where you don't get out as much, you do a lot of
Yeah.
eating, talking. You notice that kind of hones in. And then when you get back into that movement piece and you start to just feel everything again, and it's like, oh, there you are, that familiar
Yeah.
piece, and welcome back, and let's go. But then not to be berating yourself for when you're not there,
No,
and
exactly.
the judgment thoughts come back in. It's just that signal to you. You've gone off course. Bring yourself back on and
Yep.
carry on. Yeah.
Yep. I think the thread of all the work that I do is it we have a choice about whether we do this journey with judgment and being harsh with ourselves, or through love and compassion. And so, to me, I'm at a point where I'm just like, oh, silly human, silly, silly Glenda, you just went off course, and you just kind of laugh about it. And then you choose to come back. There's no
Mm-hmm.
need to beat yourself up and go, oh my God, I didn't get that right again. Or, oh, geez, I did it again and I know better. And like, when am I ever going to learn? And you just go down that path, and it's just taking you out even more,
Mm-hmm.
So you get to choose whether you do this with love for yourself. And it really is, this whole self-remembrance, self-realization journey, to me, is a form of self-love.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, because being in survival mode is not very loving. And I know we're doing that unconsciously, but we can also choose to come back into flourishing and into love, because that's what flourishing is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then over time, like it's the same thing with neural rewiring in the brain, right? Our habits are very well ingrained down a particular highway, and then we choose a new highway, but that new highway initially, like, we got to get out the machete and do a lot of bushwhacking because it's not an easy path to go down. But then over time, as we travel that path more and we travel the old habit less, then the old habit pathway becomes more grown over, and the new pathway becomes more well trodden, and it becomes easier to go down. And so that's ultimately what's happening when we're choosing new habits. And it's not as easy as just choosing a new habit and saying, well, I'm going to stop doing this and I'm going to start doing this. There are reasons we chose that pattern in the first place. And so there are beliefs and thoughts that had us do that. And if we don't actually get to the root of those, what those are, and really see them for the lies that they are, really, we're believing lies about ourselves, then the lasting change doesn't occur, because we're just doing a part of the puzzle, so to speak. Yeah,
exactly. So I know you've been building new programming and are ready to launch. What are some of the things that people can really look forward to with where you're heading now in your new direction?
Yeah, well, I have a new 8-week program called Freedom to Flourish. Say bye-bye to overwhelm and depletion. And that's starting January 23rd. And I'm super excited about this. And it really is a self-awareness journey, a self-remembrance journey. And it's learning the tools of flourishing, and then to start living them. That's really an important part. But this program in particular is about really understanding yourself and how you tend to operate in the world and what your patterns are, and then how to choose new ones, and what are those tools of flourishing that can really assist you to come into your heart and have love be your guiding force. And so that that's coming up on January 23rd. So I'm really, really excited about that. And I don't know what else to
And
say.
how can people reach out to you if they want to know more, or if they're listening to this podcast later than January 23rd?
Sure.
What are some of the things that they can look at for your resources?
So I have created a PDF called The 3 Secrets to Flourishing. And that is something that I would love to gift people. And so if you go to giftfromglenda.com, you can receive that gift from me, and then you're on my email list, and that's one of the ways that we can be in connection. I'm also on Instagram. It's Glenda Lane Freedom Guide is my handle, I guess, there, and also on Facebook. And my website is freedomfromwithin.net, and so that's another place. If you want to just reach out to me, have any questions, my email is glenda@glendalane.ca. And so that's another way that you can get a hold of me. I'm on LinkedIn as well. There's several ways, but if you'd like to receive the 3 Secrets to Flourishing and really start to lean into that for yourself, then by all means, please go to giftfromglenda.com and you can receive that.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you for sharing that with the listeners, and I hope they take advantage of the tools that'll be within that PDF, and get them started. And even just thinking about the topic of flourishing, and if it hasn't been in the vocabulary, what does it mean, and how can people expand from there?
Yeah,
Is there anything
exactly.
else that you'd like to bring forward that I maybe didn't ask, or across our discussion, anything that popped
Hmm.
in?
I don't know. I think yeah,
We covered a lot.
nothing's dropping. Yeah. Oh yeah. Nothing's dropping in at the moment. So
Okay,
yeah, it feels complete.
perfect. Okay, so then as we close today, I always like to give people a recommendation of some kind of movement that they could be doing to get them activated. And like I said, for me, it's when I get back into moving again from
Yeah.
my sedentary kind of activities, that always is when everything engages for me. What would you recommend?
So I like, I call it spontaneous dance. I don't know what it is, but what I do is I put music on. Music is very activating. It's actually one of the things that brings through light language for me a lot. And so I find, because those music is sound, right? It's those light codes through sound. And so I put on music and I close my eyes and I just kind of put my attention on, you can put your attention on any part of your body. It doesn't matter whether it's your heart or your solar plexus, your center. And then how does your body want to move? And you just start to allow it to, maybe it's an arm that starts to move, maybe your body starts to sway. And it's just this spontaneous movement where you're letting your body take the lead. So you're not doing dance moves, you're not doing any of that. It's just simply to allow your body to start to move. And what happens for me, I call it a bit of an unwinding that happens. So, a lot of times, if there's any tension or any stagnation of energy anywhere, my body just knows to move in a particular way to release it. And everyone else's body will do the same. But it's giving the time and the space to let our bodies do that. I mean, how often do we hold our bodies rigid? And half the
Mm-hmm,
time we don't even know we're doing it, right? I'll be
mm-hmm,
lying in bed in my meditation, and I'll be like, oh wow, I'm clenching my butt cheeks, or oh wow, I'm holding I'm holding my thigh tight. And so, there's an awareness now that I have of like, oh, okay, let that go.
mm-hmm,
So our bodies, they do want to move. They're not meant to be sedentary, as you well know. And so that is a practice that I love to do, especially when if I have been sitting for a while or I haven't been moving, is to just put some music on, doesn't matter what it is, and just let your body do its thing. And it feels pretty amazing, actually, because it's like you're having a date with your body. You're
mm-hmm,
partnering with your body and you're just really in tune, and it completely takes you out of your head. So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yeah.
You reminded me of actually a time when it really well, really opened my idea of dance as a healing modality rather than
Mm.
just dance as a, because I love to,
Performance, right? Or performance or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And it was working with Heather Cornell, who is tap legend from
Mm.
Canada but lives in New York. And Heather had us listening to a piece of music
Yeah.
and bringing out each instrument. So she would say, I want
Mm.
you to pretend that you are the piano, and
Okay.
the only thing that you can move is your big toe. And then we had to play the piano with our big toe. And it seems crazy when you're thinking about it, but the eyes are closed. You're just kind of in that music. And then she would change the different instruments. Um, and we did have live musicians, so it was a little bit different than putting on a recording, but it works the same way. But
Yeah.
what happened in that process was the healing power.
Mm.
And there was some things going on in our family, and there was a lot of blocked emotions that we weren't aware of.
Yeah.
And out of that process, one of my family members just, we finished and they were like, I'm so hungry. I am so hungry. I am famished. I need to go eat. And they hadn't been able to eat well for several weeks, and they
Wow.
weren't sleeping. And then it was a big meal. went to bed and slept for like 16 hours and came out a new person. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, we stood in that space with our eyes closed for over an hour. It felt like 2 minutes, but it
Right.
was well over an hour. And when it was finished, it was so profound. And I'd forgotten about that little piece till you were just talking. So I don't know if that speaks to any of the listeners, but the profoundness of taking that time and to be present with the music and really listening into the body. It can just be so empowering. And and you don't know where it's going to take you, and you don't know what healing's going to happen. And that was really a pivotal moment for me, shifting my work as a dance studio owner, going to competitions, preparing for year-end recitals, and shifting over to what is the power within this movement that I've been missing, and that I could be gifting to my students in all the challenges that they're going through in their days. And when they come to me, I put more stress on them, or I can choose to just sit back and let them experience dance so that they can heal from whatever challenges they're facing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that wasn't what I was going to say, but that's I'm really happy.
As
to
always,
share that.
right? Best laid plans.
Yeah. So what I did want to share was on my YouTube channel, so at Michelle Greenwell, there's a playlist called Dance Integration, and I have it's called the Bioenergetic Wellness Dance Warm-Up. And it's one that you wouldn't be necessarily listening to your body, but you can connect energetically with the activities that I've placed there. And so I would invite people then to take a look at the YouTube channel and see what they've got. So thank you so much.
Look at that.
Yeah, please do. I just this morning I was teaching little preschoolers. They're 3 years old, and we did everything that is on that video. And it's taken us a few weeks to get to the place where they could listen enough to be able to do all the activities, but we did it today, and I was so excited.
Awesome.
Just transforms their day too, and what they're doing. So
100%. And kids are so in tune energetically. I mean, really, energy is the first language of a baby, right? It doesn't communicate and with words or any of that, but it feels, and it can pick up on energy really well. And so kids are awesome that way, in terms of being in what they feel and moving. And I love that you're doing that. Yeah,
I know it's the light in my week, since I'm kind of retired from teaching dance that way, but it just that little burst. So thank you, Glenda, so much for sharing your wisdom and for the program that you're bringing forward and how you're making a difference for so many people. I really appreciate the way that you spoke today and what you bring forward for people.
Thank you. Thanks so much. It was a lot of fun, and just love connecting with you.
You've been listening to Be Well with Michelle Greenwell, and this episode is sponsored by Dance Debut Inc., providing movement programs to create a flourishing lifestyle while achieving your goals and ambitions and enjoying the activities on your bucket list. Also by the Cape Breton Tea Company, bringing a little of our countryside and hospitality into your day with a luxurious cup of the tastes and sounds of Cape Breton Island. Cape Breton Tea Company.square.site is where you can find more information on some of the blends, and dancedebut.com is where you can find some of the activities that Dance Debut is up to and my resources. Thank you so much, Glenda, and to everyone out there listening, have a great day.